Hey, hello.
Hello there. Are we live? Are we recording?
We are recording right now.
No problem. How are you, buddy?
Pretty good. First of all, I want to say thank you for your time.
Oh, my pleasure.
You didn't have to do this, but you are, so I appreciate this. Thank
Good.
you so much. And yeah, I did some research, and you were a ESPN sports broadcaster.
I was, yeah. I worked for ESPN a while ago. I don't work for them anymore, but yeah, I did ESPN, and yeah, it was a good chapter of my life. I enjoyed it.
And how, how did you become to get that kind of a job at ESPN?
Oh, the ESPN thing. Well, I had worked for Major League Baseball for a long time,
Okay.
and I left Major League Baseball after the '08 season. And then
Mm-hmm.
in 2009, I started working for SiriusXM. And then I also started doing some ESPN radio stuff. And then the guy who was running Baseball Tonight at ESPN was a big listener to SiriusXM, so he heard me
Okay.
there, and he said, "Would you ever be on Baseball Tonight?" And I was like, "Sure." So that's kind of how it started. Yeah. The funniest thing about it was growing up, I was a big Dave Winfield fan, and
Okay.
I had a poster of Dave Winfield in my room. And Dave Winfield was on a show that I did and asked me for a ride. We were both
Wow.
staying in the same hotel, and Dave Winfield comes up to me out of nowhere, and he goes, "Hey, man," he says, "Are you staying at the whatever hotel it was? I don't remember the name." And he says, "Do you mind giving me a ride?" And I was like, "Oh my god, the guy whose poster I had in my room is sitting in my car." It was the weirdest feeling, and it was like if you could tell the 10-year-old me that story would happen.
Oh,
Um,
he would. Yeah, he would freak out.
right, he would freak out. Yeah, that was it. It was very cool.
Oh, that is pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. So it says here that you work for uh, Denver, Seattle,
Yep.
New York. You've been around.
I've been around. It just means I'm old.
Come on, you're not old.
Um, yeah, Denver. After college, my first job was in Syracuse, and then I moved to Denver. I
Hmm.
got very lucky there because in Denver, the the Broncos, the team that I was covering, my second year, they made the Super Bowl.
Oh
So
wow.
it was just kind of in the right place at the right time. If they're a bad team at that point, I don't have the opportunities that I wound up having
Yeah.
for that. You're a gamer, so I will tell a funny video game story. When I got to the Broncos, I didn't know anybody. I was
Okay.
23 and I was very nervous. I was extremely nervous. Now
Okay.
I talk to athletes all the time, but back then I didn't. And then like week 6, I overheard a couple of the linemen talking about Madden football.
Oh, okay.
And I remember going over to them and going, "Excuse me, are you guys talking about the video game?" And they're like, "Yeah, you play the video game?" I was like, "Yeah, I play the video game." And then they're like, "We should play the video game together." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And we wound up started to play Madden at night. Like they would go to practice, I would cover practice, and then at night we would go over to each other's apartments and we would because we were the same age.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of
So they were like
course.
my friends, and they just happened to be football players. And ironically, the second year they made the Super Bowl. That was Super Bowl 32. The Broncos beat the Packers
Oh,
in the Super Bowl, and I was
yeah,
there, and I was on the field at the end, and I got to celebrate with those guys, and I really like. I was rooting for my friends. They were
yeah,
my
of course.
guys. Um, it was an incredible experience. And then when the Broncos had their victory parade, one of the linemen decided to invite everyone in our Madden league onto his float.
Oh, really?
So I was 24 years old and I was on a float in a Super Bowl
Oh,
parade.
that is awesome.
It was insane, and
Oh, man.
it was all because of Madden football. I always will say like I'm not a huge gamer, but Madden football was always something that I was into, and
Let me bring him back in. It looks like he's there. Sorry about that.
that's okay.
Yeah, that must have been pretty exciting
It
to
was fun.
there. So, so do you still talk to those guys now or no?
Well, it's been 30 years, but
Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on with this recording.
okay.
Yeah, it should be fine now.
Yeah, but you know, it's the kind of thing where you know, social media, we keep in touch through that, but yeah,
Okay.
you kind of lose touch with people.
So after that, it says you left and you created two podcasts.
Yes. Yeah.
And one of the podcasts is about Marvel superheroes.
It's about superheroes. Yeah. It's called the Hall of Justice. The idea behind it was I didn't feel that there was anything that was about superheroes that was designed for adults.
Okay.
I thought everything that was in the superhero space was either like nerd talk or geek talk, and I hated those words.
Oh
I
yeah.
thought those were dumb, and I also I didn't want to do anything for kids. So I brought the skill set that I had covering sports, and I tried to do a show that was about superheroes. And
Okay.
yeah, it's been successful, and I love it, and it's fun. You know, I also have the sports podcast, but the thing about the sports podcast is there's a millions of them.
Oh yeah. No. Yeah.
You know what
There
I'm
are.
saying? So I don't have the arrogance to say my sports podcast is better than everybody. That's
Yeah.
I don't know. I like it. You know, you're welcome to listen to it. It's fun. But the Hall of Justice, I think, is pretty unique, and um, I feel like I think the listeners really get what I'm trying to do with that show.
Like, what kind of points do you talk about?
For the Hall of Justice.
Yeah.
Well, it's split. I don't know if it's 50-50, but half of the show are guests. And
Mm-hmm.
so what we'll do is I'll interview actors,
Oh wow.
I'll interview writers, directors, you know, whoever.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the other half is we do film and TV reviews. So
Okay.
what I have is about 6 or 7 friends who are in the business, so to speak. They're like they're qualified,
Yeah.
and what they do is, um, you know, if there's a new DC movie or Marvel or Star Wars or
Mm-hmm.
you know something, we'll review it. And the big funny thing is we put the warning on the podcast that say spoilers, and we
Okay.
always get a higher audience when we say that because people
Okay.
feel like you know if it's spoiler filled, that means it's inside and we're
Yeah.
insider, you know. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. That podcast is super fun.
Yeah. It sounds like it. So let me ask you this:
Yeah.
are you more about DC or are you more about Marvel?
Interesting question. So from a comic book standpoint, I grew up reading more DC by a lot. And then in the you know what DC I thought did well was I really gravitated toward its characters. I
Okay.
also remember the original Superman movie, the
Yes.
original Batman movie. You know, so those kind of changed. You know, in the 2000s, the X-Men came out, and that was great. And then Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire
Yeah.
Spider-Man came out. And I think what Marvel has done, for the most part, it has been in a slump recently. But I think what Marvel has done is done a great job of creating a connected universe.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a big fan of continuity. For
Okay.
example, I love that Andor, you know, the Star Wars show Andor, leads right into Rogue One, which leads right into A New Hope. I love when things connect like that.
Yeah.
And I think that Marvel has done an amazing job of when you meet the Winter Soldier in Thunderbolts, that's the same guy from the Falcon and Winter Soldier, and that's the
Yeah.
same guy from Captain America Winter Soldier. So like you grow along with the characters. So
Yeah.
it's not that I'm a Marvel versus DC person. I just don't think DC movies has done the justice that the Marvel movies has done.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel the same way about that.
So I'm not really answering your question, but I'm kind of.
No, no, no. It's a great answer. So, as a kid growing up,
Yeah.
were you a Batman fan, Superman?
I was a big fan of the Super Friends when I was growing up.
Okay.
And then I was really into He-Man and the
Okay.
Transformers. That was my thing. I still think the 1986 Transformers animated movie is one of the best superhero movies ever made.
Wow.
Optimus Prime dies, and when
Yeah.
you're 12, that's massive.
That-
That's a pretty big deal. It was a great stuff back then. I got into comics when I was in college. I
oh,
never read
really?
comics as a kid. I got into it in college. My freshman year was 1992. I was a freshman at Syracuse,
Okay.
and I got asked. I was working for the campus TV station, and I got asked to cover the death of Superman.
Ooh.
It was a comic book,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I went to this comic book store. I got a ride, and I went to this comic book store, and there was like a line out the door. I couldn't believe it.
yeah.
And so the next year, I got to bring a car to campus. And as soon as I had a car, one afternoon, I drove to that comic book store, and I started finding out that comics were really designed for young adults. They weren't for kids. And they were speaking to me. And so that's when I became a comic book fan.
Wow. And now to the day, you cover all those superheroes.
Yeah, well, in the podcast, in 2015, I got hired by a Comic-Con company to do a TV show.
Oh, really? Wow.
You can see it if you have the streaming service Tubi. Tubi.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, our show is on there, or at least it was. Well, last time I checked, and when I was at these Comic-Cons, I was meeting all these interesting people, and I was like, these people have fascinating stories to tell, but there's no platform for them to tell their stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, what if I created a podcast for adults that these people would want to come on? And slowly but surely, when I conceptualized the show, I didn't know about the reviews. I didn't know where that was going to go. I just wanted to try it, and luckily the audience grew. We had an incident in 2016 that really helped the podcast.
Okay.
I had Zack Snyder on.
Oh, wow.
And in the podcast, it's episode 28 of the podcast, but in that podcast, Zack Snyder ripped Superman fans. And someone from Variety, the entertainment website Variety,
Yeah.
Variety heard it and wrote an article. And the article was Snyder rips Superman fans on podcast. And it went viral. And that got over 750,000 downloads. And
Wow.
all of a sudden, the show was on the map,
It only takes one thing.
Yeah, right. And my joke was anytime somebody brings up Zack Snyder on the show, I always say, thanks for coming on. We wouldn't be here without you.
So you said that you interviewed actors also that play characters on TV shows and movies.
Sure.
Can you tell me which one that you interviewed?
Ooh, let's see. Did you watch the show Superman and Lois?
Yes, I have.
We interviewed Superman.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, and this summer I haven't aired it yet, but I interviewed Lex Luthor.
Oh,
The guy who plays Lex Luthor.
yeah, the guy who
So that's an example. I interviewed the voice guy of the new Disney Plus Spider-Man show.
Okay.
Let's see. Do you remember the TV show The Flash?
Yeah, on the CW.
Yep. Yeah, I interviewed Caitlin, the girl who played Caitlin.
Oh, who
Um,
played Frost?
yeah, Frost. Yep. Um, yeah, we talked to her. Yeah, just people. I mean, Ben Affleck's been on the show. Um, Samuel L. Jackson was on the show. Uh,
Damn.
yeah, we've been lucky. The funny part is that the reviews do better download wise than the actors.
Oh,
Um,
really?
I know it's very weird, but
That is weird.
I can't argue. I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I don't want to take more of your time, but the last question I have is, do you have any advice for people that want to get into the broadcasting side of the business or just in general?
Well, the industry is very crowded right now, and what I would say is, things like what you're doing, just trying a show, just doing
Mm-hmm.
the show and getting practice and doing reps. One of the things that I stress whenever people are doing interviews is don't write out your questions,
Yeah.
because listen to the answers and make your next question based on the answers. Um, I think that it's, between YouTube and TikTok and all the different platforms, there's plenty of opportunities. And I think that if you want to be on air, what you need is reps, practice, and
Of course.
that's the best advice I can give you. Traditional media companies are also hiring kids
Okay.
because they're all in budget crunches and they want to hire younger people that make less money.
Okay.
And so I think the opportunities are there. You just have to find them.
Okay. Well, once again, thank you for your time.
Oh, thanks for having me. If you want to do another one of these another time, I'm happy to do it.
Oh, that's great.
Sure. You have my number now.
Yes, I do. Thank you
Yep.
very much.
Yep. Just only late at night texts.
Only late night. Okay. Will do.
You got it, man.
I really appreciate that, Seth. And
Thanks for having me.
thank you for being on.
You got it, dude. I'll see ya
See ya
later.
later. Guys, so that was Seth, a former ESPN broadcaster and the podcast. I'll have all his information in the description below. And do not forget to share, like, and subscribe to the channel. On that note, like I always say, stay safe, be positive, and always go Paco, and I'll see you next time.